welcome to the best of everything. I am Ruben Paul, and I am very excited today. Not because Johnny's here. Johnny's always here, so I don't get excited. But my co-host, my brother from another mother, Mr. Johnny Sanchez.
Yeah. What up, everybody? What up?
But we have a very, very, very special guest. Johnny's always here, so I don't get excited.
Oh God, wait. I got too many sounds going on here, damn it.
You can put your volume down on your phone.
I got it. It don't take me long.
We have a very, very special guest today. A guy that I have respected and admired for a long time.
Both of us.
And if you are a comedy fan and have watched TV or listened to anything.
God, every time somebody introduces me, I sound like I'm 400 years old.
No,
that's a good thing.
You've just done so much. You've just done so much, man. And ladies and gentlemen, the one and only from Philly, Mr. Ralph Harris.
What's up? What's up, man?
How you doing, brother?
Ruben and Johnny, man, two of my faves, man. You're my faves, brother.
We appreciate that.
Two of my faves, yes, indeed, for a very long time. I appreciate y'all, man.
Hey, so how you been holding up, man, during this quarantine, man?
I'm hanging in there, trying to be creative. I was talking to somebody yesterday about, what do you do when you finally get back on stage? Because, it takes us a minute to get our rhythm. It's like a ball player, you gotta figure out where them jokes work and where they don't work. And, but in the meantime, there's something in the back of my mind that goes, man, you should probably go back with as much new stuff as you can because the expectation won't be the same. And just go raw with it. Do it like when you first started and you ain't know them jokes were gonna work, but I'm holding up though, man.
Ruben, you and I had a conversation about that, and I know I've been talking to my buddy, another comic, Ryan Dalton, a friend of mine, and we were saying the same thing. Like I was going, man, this is probably the longest you've ever gone, right?
Yeah.
Since you started.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually the longest time, and the crazy thing is, I think the last time I've been off work this long is at home. Even at home has been 1994.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, the fact that you just said like just even you being at home. One thing about you, Ralph, any comic in the game knows that you stay working. I can't even tell you. I mean, me and you have ran into each other in airports a few times, man. And
right.
Usually through Chicago for some reason, because I think you're American also. You fly American a lot also, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wait, and I'm sitting here pissed off because the mileage is getting screwed, man.
Well, I've been keeping up with all the emails and stuff because they're doing things to help people with status and everything. Because at this rate, I wouldn't make it back to platinum. You know what I mean?
Ruben, I was platinum. I've been executive platinum for like the last 12, 15 years. Wow. And last year I didn't make it, so I went back to pro platinum, and then I was platinum, and now I'm platinum for life. No matter what, platinum ain't nothing, bro.
Hey, man, don't be disrespectful, man. Some of us.
You platinum? Oh, you platinum? Oh, you platinum? Oh. I'm sorry. Hey, platinum is nice. Platinum is nice.
See, this is how phony Johnny is. If I would have said what you would have said, he'd have called me bougie. He'd have called me all types of things. And you just said it, and he act like he didn't even hear it.
So Johnny, my man, and Johnny.
But wait a minute. There's a difference. Ralph's saying it because there's years and years and years of him doing it. Yeah, Ruben, you want people to hear you say platinum. There's a difference, Ralph. There's a totally different thing going on here.
Right.
So
And the truth is, Johnny can give it to me just the same, Ruben. I'm okay with it because I know he will when he sees me. But the thing is, when you fly so much, like we're on about 6 to 8 planes in a week. And so when you fly so much, and the seats have gotten smaller, like you're sitting in a seat almost like this right now, you know. And so when you get to sit in that first class joint, and it's like, and they keep bothering you for food, that's a whole different energy. And so 35 years doing stand-up, I think I earned a little bit more room for my shoulders. But you know, I'm adjusting because hell, I come from food stamps, so I know what it's like, you know, to be on a plane and you got to take out your own food because they ain't gonna give you none. I've been there. I know the difference.
Shout out Spirit Airlines, by the way.
Oh my God, never.
Spirit. I think we just earned some miles for Spirit doing this interview.
Hey, by the way, I remember I've only flown Spirit once, dude. And I remember telling Ruben, Rob, I knew there was a problem when I got to the gate.
Right.
And I was the best looking person at the gate. I'm like, I have never ever been the best looking person.
I know that's right.
I don't know if Johnny will remember this, but I think Johnny, it was one time where you were debating on taking Spirit Airline. I'm like, yo, dude, I will chip in and help buy you a ticket not to take Spirit Airline. That's how bad my Spirit Airline experience was. One time and out, dude.
Me too. One and out. Man. One and done.
Well, Ralph,
I did it one time too.
One of the reasons why I really wanted to have you on the show, and me and Johnny, we've talked a lot, is, you know, obviously with what the world is going through, like I've been very reflective, and, you know, there's always this thing now where you want to give people flowers while they're alive. You want people to know how you feel about them, know how you appreciate them. I know I'm making you sound 100 years old right now.
No, you make me sound like we already planned a funeral.
But I just want to say, man, from my perspective, you know, being a Black comic, when I first started, you're one of the guys that showed me comedy can be done another way. You know, I came up, let me finish and see.
I'm cool.
People comics don't like to get compliments. So you guys who are listening, Ralph is kind of frowning when I'm about to say what I'm about to say.
I'm cool.
But Ralph, I just want you to know, man, like, you know, I'm born and raised in LA. You know, I started, you know, in the hood working Black clubs.
Right.
And D.L. Hughley was my first mentor.
My dog. Yeah.
Absolutely. D.L. was one of the first to encourage me to work more than just Black rooms.
Yeah.
And you and Jeff Brown were two of the comics that I saw that weren't whitewashed,
right,
or tomming it up, you know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some Black comics.
Oh yeah. Just kind of doing whatever, almost selling yourself.
Yes.
But selling yourself to the point where you didn't care what it was going to make people think about the next man, and yeah, that's not cool, you know. And it kind of gave me, you know, you kind of feel reserved, like I don't want to be, you know, if I got to work in front of white people, I don't want to work in front of white people like that. Right,
right. And then seeing you, it was just like, oh, you know, not that you was gangster or anything like that, but you were yourself.
Yeah.
You were Black and you were a different perspective. People seem to think like Blacks and Latino comics, we're just one thing. Right. You know, we can only do one style of comedy. We got to be, you know, screaming or extra vulgar or whatever that might be. And that signifies your Blackness or your authenticity. Right. So when I saw you, man, it was just really inspiring. And I've always had a lot of respect for what you've done and have been a fan. And I just wanted you to know that, because I've never even told you that.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Well, you have, and just whenever we have conversations, Ruben, I you know, you always let me know, you know, that there's respect. I mean, the fact that we share phone numbers and we can call each other whenever we need to. that tells me a lot, you know. And it's like when I got to LA, you know, it was George Lopez and George Wallace and John Witherspoon. Those guys took me under their wing, you know. And then I met DL and I met Chris Spencer and Sully and guys who kind of showed me the lay of the land. And they took time and they hung out with me and they just kind of let me know how to get spots and stuff like that. But I had already, you know, kind of earned my chops back east, and I just needed to know the East Coast.
I'm gonna let Johnny jump in, but the last thing I would say, the thing that kind of did it for me, like I saw you on TV, but I saw you at the Comedy Act Theater.
Oh yeah.
You came down the Comedy Act Theater, and for us who were in the trenches down there, it was the baddest black comics, the best black comics who worked that room.
Oh yeah.
It was like, oh, this is dude Ralph Harris. You know, he be on TV. He from the East Coast. You know that. You never know what comics are thinking. He ain't gonna be able to do that same shit down here that he's doing up in the white room. And you came down to the Comedy Act and ripped it, man. And that was so inspiring because you did it in a way that wasn't just like everybody else. And to Michael Williams' credit, it wasn't a lot of cookie cutter black comics at his club.
Yeah.
We were all uniquely different in a way, especially at that time. So, I really appreciated that.
What most people don't know is, you know, I started in clubs that looked and felt like the Comedy Act Theater in Philly. I did Showtime at the Apollo 8 times. I hosted it. You know, in between Sinbad and Mark Curry. And so, you know, I paid my dues, not to mention when I got to LA, J. Anthony Brown welcomed me over to remember the Fun House?
Of course.
Maverick's Flats. Yeah. And so I used to go there and Jay helped me figure out the rhythm of that room. Cause that was even different than the Comedy Act, you know? So I went in and I said, well, let me go in and really just be around my people. And, you know, it's just like being at home to me to be at the Comedy Act Theater, where we choose to make our money and where we would probably prefer to be on stage is always going to be a little different. But I'm in show business, man. You know, so I know how to do the show. The great thing about it is I don't have to stop being me.
Come on, man. Right. Johnny?
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I had seen Ralph, of course, for years on TV before I actually saw him in person at HBO and all that. My buddy Rob DeRocha just said, I was gonna say this anyway, but he's
what
like,
up, Ralph?
He goes, Ralph always kills, and you know,
oh man, what up, Ralph? Thanks, man.
That's what I was gonna jump on was, you know, I think I saw you. I had already seen you on numerous TV stuff, and then I saw you for the first time at the Ice House. And I don't know if you came down to do. I don't know if you were doing a weekend there or you were there doing Rudy Moreno's.
Rudy's thing I love. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's what, and I remember I was like, oh man, that's the dude I've been watching on TV. And I mean, Ruben and I had even talked. I was like, we know I have my offsets. Okay, I have sets where either the crowd, I get upset, I get mad at the actor, or I just self-flow.
We all do. So, I've only ever seen you murderize the room, though, Johnny. Don't even try that. Don't try.
But you just said what I was going to say about you because Ruben and I even talked about this once we, you know, knew you were coming on, or your name has been brought up in the past, and man, you have always been just so consistent. No matter what room you're in, it doesn't matter. It's so universal. It's everybody. I mean, all colors, all ages. You know, I mean, and it's interesting that you use the term show business because to me, I feel like you're a true performer more than just a stand-up, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I first started, man, I used to my first gig on the road was actually my first road gig was with a guy named John Joseph. And it was my first. I got on the Amtrak train and rode 8 hours down to North Carolina. And then John taught me how to do radio. He taught me how to get up in the morning and get yourself ready to do your show on a microphone where nobody can see you.
Yeah.
And so when I learned that, the next thing that seemed to happen was I got a chance to Well, Rick Scheidner was actually my first big break. I don't want to ever leave that out. He was my first. Rick Scheidner put me in front of 3,000 people. I only had 5 minutes of material, bro.
Wow.
And I think 3 minutes of that was my sister's. I don't even think it was mine, So so then I went on the road with George Benson, and that's why I bring up the show business thing is because George Benson used to give me talks after the whole show. We'd be backstage, and he'd be explaining to me how important it is to take yourself outside of the artist. That artist, we can get in that artist mind, and we forget the person who paid for the ticket, who left home for an experience.
Yeah.
And we have audiences now that have a little bit more anger in the stomach and in the guts, and they want somebody to represent that, in a funny way. But at the same time, we got to remember the funny way is why they paid to come in to see us. Mm-hmm. You still got to be funny with it. And I just never forget to stay connected to the show and to the business, the way we look, the way we present. And then let's go ahead and laugh. Let's make everything wet and sweaty. Let's do it. But it's just been the way I've been doing it, man. And I'm still enjoying it because, people seem to still like what I'm doing.
Well, absolutely, Ralph. What led you to stand up in the first place?
What led me to what?
What led you to stand up? What was the thing that made you want to stand up?
The crazy thing is, bro, I was a quiet kid. Like I ain't talk. I didn't talk. I was. It was almost like I had that. Like you ever see kids that have that thing where they like autistic kids deal with it a lot, where they don't speak. They want to, but they don't because they know it's not going to come out right. And I didn't have autism. But I didn't speak my mind because I had the aunts in the family that were like, speak when you're spoken to, keep your mouth shut, don't stay out of grown folks' business. It was just everything was about shut up. So I didn't talk. And so my mom and dad, my dad was dry, funny, but my mother, man, we would go to people's houses and or the family cookout or the grandmas on the weekend. And my mother would get to the vestibule, the doorway after the door in that little space. And I would look up at her and she would be getting herself ready. Like she was getting ready to go on stage, bro. And so when I looked at what she was able to do when she walked in the room, which is take my family from whatever mood they were in and literally have them cracking up in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
Even people who didn't know her, and I'd be like, damn, I wanna do that to people. And then the crazy thing, just skipping forward, a friend of mine named Bill Woodward told me to watch Saturday Night Live in 1981. He said, you got to see this dude, this Eddie Murphy dude. He's doing this Gumby thing, and I'm like, Gumby, I love Gumby. I said, I liked the Little Rascals. I just dug them, and I was like, really? And then the next day he came back. He said, you got to see him. And so Saturday Night Live, I would watch it, but I would always fall asleep at the music part because it was always like some band. I was like, I don't know them, I'm out. And so, but one night I stayed up and I saw Eddie. And Eddie made me laugh so hard, bro. I didn't go to sleep. I was up until my mother went to church. And back then I used to play the drums in church. And my mother said, ain't you going? I said, I can't. I'm sleepy. And when she came home, she said, okay, I'm upset with you because you didn't make church. And I told her why. And she said, well, why don't you do it? Just like that. She said, well, why don't you do that? Wow. And I was like, I would never be that good. So I went in the Army, and when I got out of the Army, out of basic training, I took a couple of jobs, and some friends took me from a job I was working to my first open mic night the week before I turned 20. And,
how long were you in the Army?
Huh?
How long were you in the Army?
I did 4 years with the Army Reserve. Oh. And I didn't even know I was in the reserve, but that's a whole nother crazy story. I thought I was going to Germany like everybody else, but thankfully I didn't, but what happened is they took me, and then Keith Robinson told me how to get on the very next week. And me and Keith has been friends. Well, we weren't friends that first year. I hated him because he Keith told me to come back next week with some knee pads and sign up for a spot. Now I'm from North Philly. I don't even know what that kind of talk is. So your boy was at the sporting goods store the day that I was supposed to do open mic night. I'm at the sporting goods store looking like this up at the shelves, and the guy comes up and he goes, "Well, can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I need some knee pads." But he's like, "Yeah." I said, "But I need black ones. You don't have any black ones." He's like, "What are you using them for?" And I was like, "I'm gonna do comedy because the dude told me if I come down and sign up, make sure I have some knee pads." And the guy, he started laughing. So I'm thinking, damn, Keith just gave me my first joke, yo. So I thought to myself, I'm gonna get that dude some dap when I get to the club. so I get the knee pads. I literally got them, and the guy says, "Hold on for a minute. Let me get my manager." So he brings the manager over, and he says, "Tell him again what you said." Now I'm feeling myself because I'm like, "Yo, this is funny already." I was gonna do my Eddie Murphy impression on stage. I didn't know I was gonna get funny laughs with this. So when the dude explained to me, the manager said, "All right, let me tell you the deal." He said, "The whole knee pad," and I wanted to kill Keith. I wanted to kill him, bro. I wanted to absolutely kill him. But anyway, long story short, I go on stage and I didn't know that you weren't supposed to like do verbatim your favorite comedian's material.
Sure.
I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do Eddie Murphy's getting hit by a car routine. And I loved him so much that I literally, I got a standing ovation, Ruben, my very first time. Johnny, I'm on stage. I got 70 people there to see me. I got a standing ovation night number one. I didn't know I was getting a standing ovation with Eddie's material. I thought it was for me. So man, that went on for about 4 weeks. That went on for 4 weeks. 4 weeks, and then the owner of the club.
Keith didn't say anything to you? Keith didn't correct you?
Keith and my boy Rocky Wilson, like, yo, that's Eddie Murphy's material. I was like, I know, right? Because when I saw them the week before on the open mic night, right? They were corny to me. And so I was like, with all of the great material out there, why did you do corny stuff?
Hey, unfortunately, some comedians feel like that today.
True.
So Eddie Murphy has literally been a beacon for me and so many others, bro. And the reason being is because he was so young and I could see myself in him. And so, Cosby and that older generation, it was like you had to be 50 before you even started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And because I got a chance to see him and actually be around him and be around Damon Wayans and be around Chris Rock at a very young age, it really showed me, what was supposed to go into this thing. And from there on, I started grinding, and Keith showed me how to write material. Rocky Wilson showed me how to just be funny. Dave Chappelle showed me hard work. Even when I met Dave Chappelle, I think Dave was 15. Dave was 15, and Wanda was just coming up the road. Warren Hutchinson, they used to all come up to Philly, Tony Woods. And so we had a community of people who were just showing each other how to slug it out, and I moved to New York in 87, 2 years after I started. And then the rest was history, bro. I didn't look back.
So, wow. So what did your mom think was she there your first night that you performed?
First night, mom and dad were there. They both were there. And my mother, they knew they would always, this is what my family would be. They would say, when we had gatherings, they'd like, do the Eddie Murphy. That was like a routine. Do the Eddie Murphy. So I would do it. And then my last thing my mother would always say is, but be clean. Don't do it dirty. Cause there's some church people in here. Now she didn't mind the dirty part, but it was some church people there when they asked me to do the Eddie Murphy. So when she came to the open mic night, she says, oh, I love that. That was really good. People stood up. And then she got me outside and she said, but you did it the dirty way, huh? She said, they okay with that? And I was like, They love that, Mom. And she's like, all right, well, do what you got to do, and I never look back, bro.
Wow. So
let me tell you how crazy it is. 6 months after I started, I didn't know, when they told me to stop doing Eddie Murphy, the owner of the club told me that from the stage. He's like, he won't be allowed back until he starts doing his own material.
Oh, wow. Who's the club owner? Do you remember the club owner?
I came back the next week. I was doing the Rich Pryor.
Do you remember the club owner?
It was a guy named Clay Heery. The club where I started was the Comedy Factory Outlet on Bank Street in Philadelphia. And Clay Heery, he was known as Captain Cranky, and he was a comedian, and he had his own style. But the wonderful thing is, him and a bunch of comedians opened comedy clubs because they were all partners back in the day. And then once they parted ways, they each opened their own club. And so, I got a chance to see them and do their thing. And thank God he told me to do my own stuff. But I did Richard. And then when he got on me that night, he actually walked on stage and took the mic and he said, "Thanks, Ralph." And people were clapping, bro. People were clapping like they didn't know.
Yeah.
And so, well, they knew, but they loved the way I was doing it. Yeah. Came back next week. I'm doing Bill Cosby, my brother Russell, who I slept with.
Whoa.
The Bill Cosby routine where he's doing, I did it like it was my brother. And then they stopped, they cut the mic off. They cut the mic off on stage. And I worked on my stand-up with a guy named Eric Gaither. Eric had shown me a little bit more how to write a joke. And I came back the very next week doing Pops, my grandfather. Mm-hmm. I took my grandfather's actual stories and I came on stage and I wasn't even getting laughs, but I had on some stuff and I actually did the old man. And I've been doing it since the first year.
Wow. I didn't realize that. And for you guys who don't know, that's the character that
nice.
That he's talking about. I've always loved that character, man. Yeah. You came up with him your first year doing stand-up?
First year. Well, I was doing it for the family. I just never thought it was going to be funny to other people.
Gotcha.
Like my grandfather would say, "Hey, I was in the war. Who was in the war? I was, and I was in Fort Huachuca, and I was in the tree, and I had a gun, and I was gonna shoot him. I swear I was gonna shoot him." And the funny thing is, my grandfather used to tell me these war stories, and it wasn't until years later that I found out he was in the Navy. He was a cook. He had no rifle. He wasn't. My grandfather used to watch John Wayne movies and take the movie plot and talk about it like it was his life, bro. And so I started telling his stories because they were real funny stories to me. So I just did it like that. And it just worked. People just loved it.
It's interesting. One thing that we definitely have in common is, growing up in the church.
Yeah.
And that decision, especially when you grow up like in a Christian household, mm-hmm. and that decision to do stand up, and you go through that feeling of, man, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is God in support of this?
Absolutely.
Is it okay for me to curse?
Right.
You go through all these emotions, man, and it's almost freeing. Like the moment when you said your mom was like, "Well, do what you got to do." You know what I mean? That was, I'm sure that lifted a burden. And for me, I remember I had been doing stand-up and kind of just wrestling with, being, feeling guilty or whatever, and wondering what my parents would think if they had saw me live. And then my pastor was like saying, it's just like if you're acting and you taking a role, what you're not going to take the role of a murderer or this or that, or you're not going to say the dialogue that's given to you. This is your job. This is not who you are.
Yeah.
Stand-up is a little different. It comes from our personal experience, but it's about conveying a message and a story. So that's freeing for me.
True. Now, the thing for me, even though, like God is in my life and my relationship with God, I was taught at a very young age, is so individual. and I've had performers in my family, from my aunt singing. Most of my family sang in church. Most of us, we were in church every week. You know, however, what they did encourage is to be you, to follow whatever the dream is that you believe it is. Because my uncle was an all-star athlete, the drunk uncle I talk about on stage, all-star athlete, could have played for anybody, you know, and he ain't drunk no more. But I remember those few times when I saw him have one too many beers, you know, but the thing is, I had, fortunately, people who encouraged me to figure out who I was, find my voice, and fly with it. And they started, like I said, they supported from day one. Once I got on Showtime, like my grandmama knows, she wanted everybody to go to college. But once my grandmother saw me on Showtime at the Apollo, then she started wanting me to sit next to her in church. You know, it was like a whole different thing after that. So once I realized that I was getting the support, man, everything was game. And the only thing about clean versus dirty or whatever, you know, it's like I started learning it one way in the 80s, because to get on TV, you had to do it the way that it would work on talk shows. And so when you get so used to that muscle, to use the other muscle, sometimes you got to find a club at night going after a certain hour, and you know, just because you become something else, and you really have to kind of deprogram yourself. And the wonderful thing about being over 50 is I got a license to say what the hell I want to say. I wish you would try to tell me what to say. Over 50, please. I done paid these dues. You know, I got a membership now. You know,
Johnny, you got it.
Well, you know, I already knew a lot of your TV credits as far as stand-up wise. I mean, you know, and I didn't realize that even though you had already done your own HBO specials, I didn't realize you and I was looking up all your credits, the long list of credits. I didn't realize you and I did the Comedy Central Presents in 2000.
Oh yeah, you the one in New York at that theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had no idea that we did it at the same time.
Yeah, man.
So I was looking at what's that?
No. Go ahead.
I'm curious about sometimes when I look up, especially people's acting roles. Okay, so I'm just curious about this character because there was a TV show called The Strip. Okay, and your character's name jumped out at me because it was Soul Elvis.
Soul Elvis.
So what did you have to do?
The crazy thing is that TV show was Guy Torry's TV show, actually. Guy Torry and the guy who played I cannot think of his name, but remember the movie Powder?
Yes.
Guy Torry and that dude had a series, and it was out of Vegas, and they wanted a black Elvis. So instead of putting black Elvis, they called him Soul Elvis. So when I went in for the audition, I said, how the hell am I going to get this? And then I thought about it. I said, one thing I do remember, because everybody used to watch some Elvis Presley movies on Sunday.
Sure.
Elvis always was doing karate moves.
Yeah.
And I said, after I finish the monologue, I'm going to do a karate move. And it was the karate move that made the producer goes, he knows what this is. And so the producer to this day is like a father figure to me. His name is Gil Adler. And Gil is actually trying to help produce a project that I'm writing right now. And so, I was Soul Elvis, dude. Soul Elvis.
And it jumped out at me just because I'm, you know, my dad was a big Elvis fan as well. And I became an Elvis fan too. But I mean, I saw that. I said, I have to ask about Soul Elvis because
Soul Elvis.
So
on the script.
Were you just doing dialogue? Did you have to do any type of performance in that?
No. It was the plot of the show was that they were looking for a serial killer in Vegas who was killing, I think, showgirls or something like that, and he was dressed up in one of those lookalike outfits. He was a lookalike, and the guy. And so they went to my lookalike agency, and I ran the agency, but I also did Elvis Presley impressions. And so that's how it was. And so I actually had lines, and I think I had about 4 lines, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
You know,
I was wondering if you actually had to do a performance.
No.
Okay.
No, that I think my manager at the time, Cindy Ambers, probably would have pulled me off.
Oh shit, we were both with Cindy at one time.
Yeah, Cindy Ambers. Yeah, Cindy, man. Yeah.
Wait a minute, Ruben, is that Cindy from?
Used to be formerly Cindy Schultzel, and now
she was. I worked with her too.
Yo, wow, man.
At Howard,
you two are right here together and don't even know that you worked with the same person.
Yeah, we were at Howard. Me and Johnny were at Howard Entertainment.
That's right.
At that time. And what's interesting, Johnny, get this: Howard's son is now a stand-up.
Oh wow!
And he came to see me at Ruby Tuesdays, and he was like, "Yo, my dad says hello," and I'm like, "Who's your dad?"
Oh wow!
And then he told me, like, "Wow, yeah." So
I was there. I was at Howard Entertainment for a minute before Cindy moved off to her own thing, and I went with Cindy. Yeah, is Howard's son doing Eddie Murphy's material, or is he doing his
own? One thing I will say is, me and Cindy, we kept in touch. I haven't talked to her in a while, but I mean, once I had moved on, in your career, and I'm sure Ralph and both Johnny can attest, when you kind of look back at managers that you've had, I never have any regrets. Well, maybe one when it comes to the business, but she was a really good manager, man.
Yeah. She cared, bro. Me and her, we cried over things, bro. That lady, she was really my friend, and she still is, and so to see her in motherhood and see how she's evolving that way, and then also I think she works with Jake Johansson still. They still work together.
I believe so. Yeah.
Bring him up because I remember that was somebody that she would always bring his name up.
Oh Jake was
like Jake. Jake does that. Yeah.
One of my icons, brother. He's a beast.
Yeah. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about this. Now, for you guys who who are listening and not watching, Ralph did a phenomenal one-man show that I got the
Managed Boy,
called Managed Boy, which he wrote and performed. Tell me how that came about. I remember telling you, I went and saw you when you did it in Hollywood at a theater on Hollywood Boulevard. And,
not Stage 52. That was the Stella Adler Theater. That was the Stella Adler Theater upstairs. Hey, man, you do your homework. You do your homework, Rue. Look at you, man.
So, I remember you inviting me like, yo, man, you got to come check out the show. And, people always say yes and never show up.
Yeah, yep.
I never told you I was going to come. I just showed up. I bought a ticket and I came.
Yep.
I was really impressed by that because a lot of comics, me and Johnny talk about acting chops. Not a lot of comics have the acting chops. And for you to do a one-man show and to tell your story in that type of way, in that type of setting, what was the catalyst for that? What made you
okay, I'm gonna make this long story really short. The reason for Managed Boy was this. I had done my stand-up as a clean act for so long, right? And I fit a mold, but Def Jam, pow, it was a firecracker. It just did something else with comedy. I didn't get on that wave when it was taking off. Even Martin came to me 2 years in. He's like, yo, Ralph, you got to do this, man. And I was like, I don't know. I'm over here doing this clean thing. And so I didn't do it. But my voice was there. But the way I was working was here. Mm-hmm. So a young lady named Marcia McKenna. Marcia McKenna reached out to me on a random phone call through Ray Murphy, actually. And she said, hey, look, I want to talk to you about doing a TV show that represents you. And she wanted to do something like a Black Seinfeld. And it was going to allow me to be a single man who is pursuing women. And I was like, okay, I get that. I don't know how long that journey is. And then she said, well, what do you want to do on stage? And I said, I would like to do a play because I'm inspired by Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi has been my hero forever. So I decided, she said, well, why do you want to do a play? And I said, well, as a comedian, I've always been expected to do it this way. I believe the play will allow me to do it the way I want to do it. And so Manish Boy was a chance for me to tell the gritty and the dark and the down and dirty part of my story, my where I come from. Also being funny, but also a chance to show, the powers that be, the Hollywood producers, my chops. And I did. And then I embodied all these characters that were the part of the village that I grew up in, just telling my story. And it's critically acclaimed. I did an off-Broadway run. Oz Scott was my director, but Stacey McLean.
I remember Stacey.
First it was Don Reed who helped me. Don Reed sat in a Starbucks with me for 30 days for a month straight. And then he went off to New York to do his show, but he was trying to show me how to get it done. Yeah. And then Stacey McLean showed me how to rewrite it and take away all of the stuff that didn't need to be there. And then I got it up. And so now it's one of those things where you do a play and you realize unless you can sell tickets, it's a pet project.
Especially in Los Angeles,
Exactly. Now the crazy thing is, if my name were Mike Epps or somebody, who's well-known, a DL or whatever, people would let me work at my pace, right? And then I could go on stage and literally do Manish Boy the same way Richard Pryor would do his own act. I would be able to work my speed, my tempo, doing Manish Boy on a comedy stage. That was my hope, but, it is what it is right now, and now we're dealing with coronas.
Well, I'm gonna push back a little bit on that, Ralph. And I wholeheartedly respect what you're saying, and I get it. But I just think you're at a point now, and this is just my opinion, and skill set wise, more than anything, I think the competence has to come with that is, you have the ability to dictate it. I know comedy's changed a lot and people see comedy in a different way. But one thing that and me and Johnny have talked about this is, a lot of people conform to what, the setting is and what they feel like it should be.
Right.
Instead of like really pushing through and dictating it. And that's one thing I've always admired about Chappelle. Chappelle's pacing isn't like most comics' pacing. And even when he wasn't quote unquote Dave Chappelle, like Dave, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, he wasn't that comic that coming into the club. Like he was always funny and he killed, but you know how some people just have that energy and they just murder the room and it's like boom, 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 boom.
Of course.
But he was like a slow burner. Like he'd have lulls in his act where he's just talking and everything. And I do think you have that same ability just because of the strength of your character.
I hear what you're saying, but you just used Dave Chappelle as the example.
I know.
And so my point is not that I can't do it.
Yeah.
I know I can do it. The point is you gotta sell tickets, you gotta sell tickets. And until I could get on stage and really just kind of work it at the pacing that it deserves.
Yeah. Well,
you have people kind of ride along with the ride, because otherwise the attention span is really, really different right now. In the 80s, people would sit back and let you play with puppets on stage. Yeah. There was a guy who used to, and this dude couldn't even work on Fridays. He was so Orthodox Jew, Jewish. And he had Mark Wiener, and he had these little Wiener puppets, dude. And people would be 400 people in the comedy club. You can't even see these little hot dog puppets. And he had a little, like a dollhouse built with these puppets. And so I know what you could do when the attention span is there. I'm not saying I can't do it.
Let me just
I'm
say
saying
this.
I got to sell the tickets.
Let me just say this. I stand corrected. I was looking at it more from the aspect of doing a showcase set, like at the factory or at the store, where it's like
Right.
a little.
No, I could do that all day.
Yeah, well,
I
there's
could do
no
that all
pressure to sell
day.
tickets. Selling tickets is a different thing.
But a pet project and paying the bills is two different things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
at our local clubs, you know, we make enough money, you know, to fill the gas tank up twice.
Yeah.
You know, on the road is where we make the money that feeds the family.
And I was looking at it from that aspect of you working it like just at the local clubs and 15, 20 spots and like that.
But
you're on the road, it is different. It definitely is.
The thing is, the show, I did get a chance to work the show out. It's solid. It is solid, you know, and I could always get back to it. I just have to do the other catch-22 stuff and build my exposure and my name so that I can go back and do Managed Boy. Hopefully it's just not, you know, I don't gain so much weight that I can't move around doing it because it's a very physical show, you know.
Okay, so have you ever actually shot it?
You know what? I want to shoot it. I actually talked to Joey Wells. I saw Joey on here a bit ago.
Joey's been chiming in. Yeah.
Joey saw the show, and I reached out to Joey and I said, Joey, you think we can do this and maybe shoot it as a special? And he said, let me get back to you. And Joey's been so busy. Kevin is a machine, you know. So they've been so busy, he just hasn't been able to get back to me on it. And I'm okay with that. And Brad Garrett has really been busting his butt trying to figure out how to make this a thing that we can, you know, shoot and do it right. I would love to shoot it, but it's got to be shot well, you know, because I have footage of it, but it's really rough, raw footage that I use for my own archives. I might, you know, because of you today, I might take one of the characters and cut it in a snippet and put it on, you know.
Yeah.
So
you should.
I may.
Well, Joey's you know a very good friend of mine. We've been friends for a long time, so he's a great person to collaborate with on any level.
Absolutely.
I would say this, you know, through your journey doing stand up and to where you are now. One thing, one of the last conversations we had flying in, I don't even know if you remember this, was, you know, you're accomplished, you've done a lot in this business, but your desire to evolve.
Right.
Remember this conversation that we had. And I found that refreshing, man, because me and Johnny talk about this. It's like, you know, as comics who vets now, who've been in the game a long time, you know, unfortunately, there's some of our peers who have just stayed the same the whole time. A lot of them haven't even written new jokes in 15 years, and they're you know, at the younger comics coming up. But it's like, yo, dude, you know, the younger comics are actually doing stand-up comedy. They're writing, they're creating, you know, on stage, and that's what me and Johnny try to do, and that's what you do also. How do you feel about this generation of comedians coming up?
Hey man, listen. The truth is, I was them. I was and I remember in 1988-7, there was a dude who used to sell cassette tapes at the comedy club on the weekend. Cassette tapes, bro. So he would bring like 50 of them in. He just wanted to sell 50. And I remember seeing that, going, nobody else is selling these. And everybody was making fun of the guy. And I said, well, he is a forward thinker. And I realized that to think forward, there's always going to be somebody going, get out of here with that new stuff. Get out of here with that new way of doing it. We sell albums. I want an album deal, you know? And so fast forward, you look at Kevin Hart. For me, Kevin is my Eddie Murphy today. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I have to find a reason after doing it so long to be inspired to give it something else. And not only is he a homeboy, but to watch somebody work that damn hard, I'd be damned if I could sit around going, I've done enough. Right. I'd be damned if I sit around going, oh, the internet, nobody wants to do that. You know, now I don't particularly like to look in the camera with somebody not laughing and do my stand-up act. However, I'm going to find a way, if this is the medium that we have to use,
to
continue doing the thing I love doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, like this show, this feels like a talk show. So I feel like I'm sitting here and I've been spotlighted on a talk show for like an hour, you know? So I love this, but these young comedians inspire me, man. And as a veteran, if I have some part of wisdom that I can implore to them that, hey, maybe you could try this, maybe you could do that, and I could help them move a little bit further and even past me, like a parent, because your parent wants you to do better than they did.
Absolutely.
I have done things in this business that I still feel like I owe somebody for, you know, doors that were open for me. So I'm supposed to tell that young guy, I'm supposed to tell that young lady, I'm supposed to bring that young lady on stage with me and give them an opportunity. And so that's what I've learned from the younger generation is stay ready.
Yeah.
Stay ready and get used to the new thing. When you see the TikToks and the Snapchats and the Instagram show up, get on there. Figure out how to use that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the new publicist. Because I remember when I used to have to pay $4,000 a month for a publicist.
Yeah. And you know, it's just as simple as, and me and Johnny, again, we have a lot of conversations, you know, not on this show. Obviously, he's one of my closest friends, and it's as simple as adapt or die.
Right.
You know, if we are entertainers, and you use that word early on in the show, that, you know, if the medium is changing,
right, and
evolving,
right,
yet we still have a desire to entertain, then we have to change with it. Like I told Johnny, I went out and bought a green screen,
right,
you know, learning how to edit,
right,
learning how to do these things.
Right. Right.
Because, you know, this generation is way more self-sufficient. You know,
absolutely,
we used to have to rely on everybody to do anything. Hey man, I want to shoot this thing. Man, I got to get a camera, man. I got to get somebody to light it. I got to do this. Yeah. Now just pick up your damn phone.
Your phone does it, bro.
Yeah.
We can make TV shows. This is a TV show.
Yeah.
And so when I saw, like, I the other day I went on YouTube. I didn't realize how much stuff Kevin had on YouTube. You know, I was like, oh my God, I'm behind the game. I got to catch up. You know, and then I take out of the equation that I need to catch up to Kevin. I need to catch up to what I know I can do.
What your expectations are.
Right, exactly. And so I still got some juice left in these legs, man. I'm you know, and I still got some great ideas that I want to share. So you know, getting out there to do it is the thing. Johnny, you know, it's funny. I was just thinking the last time I saw, not the last time, but I saw you at the Laugh Factory last time. But one time we were in Long Beach, and Ruben, Johnny was killing so hot that he went 2 minutes over, and I was ready to kill him. Not because he was over.
Yeah.
Not because he was over.
He burns the light, man.
Oh, he did.
That's so weird.
Thank you, Ralph.
Ruben, he went 10 minutes over this time. This time he went 10 minutes.
No, you said 2.
Yes.
No, you were 2 minutes over when I was ready to kill you. But Ruben, you know why? You know why though? Because Johnny, he took about 60 seconds when he first got on to connect. But then he went and was killing those people at that point for 21 minutes straight. Like the laughter was like, and I was like, okay, I just need him to trail off a bit so that I can kind of go back. I mean, I don't want to have to start like that. Yeah. I don't want to have to start so high.
Yeah.
So that was it. And I was at the same time, because Johnny, I've known you so long now, I was so proud that was my dog up there, because at the end of the day, we're a fraternity.
Yes.
And we get it, you know? And so I was proud to see it. But at the same time, I was like, if you don't pass me this baton in the next couple of seconds, I'm going to kill you, you know? And so I do want to just commend you, Johnny, for just always being so strong and doing your thing, man. And Ruben, you already know I love everything. I sit back and I'll be wanting to take out a notepad when you're on, but people will think I'm writing your act down because, you know, everybody still think I'm doing Eddie Murphy stuff. So whatever, you know, but.
You know, Ralph, you know, I'm just glad you exposed Johnny, because Johnny's been trying to put that on me. And I love it. And look, his face is getting hot right now.
Forgetting about the 10 minutes. You're 2, right? 2.
I was gonna come get you at 2, Johnny. You did 30 minutes, and guess what?
That's impossible. That is impossible.
Hey Ruben, when Johnny walked past me that night, I'm sitting there, and Johnny didn't even look at me. He just kind of, because he knew, and he walked past, and he went straight up to the balcony. He went straight up to the one at the.
Yes. Now I know you're telling the truth, because Johnny always goes straight up to the balcony.
I go straight up to the balcony. I always go to the balcony.
Straight up to the balcony. And but trust me, it was all good stuff, and I get it because I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there when somebody told you got a quick 7 and you do 10.
So Ralph, I mean,
hold on. Let me just say this. First of all, thank you for the kind words, and you don't know how much that means to me coming from you, by the way. Yeah. And I mean, also my sincere apologies for going long, because that is just not. That's Ruben rubbing off on me. Okay? That's just not good. God,
it's all good. Hey man, I love y'all, man. It's all good.
You know what's gonna happen once we get back to all this, and if I walk up and I see that I'm on and you're on after me, you know who's doing 17 instead of 20.
You're gonna give me my 3 minutes back.
I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna give you more than I'll give 15. I'll get off the 15%. I'm telling you, man, that is one of my pet peeves, and for me to do it, oh God, I feel
so good, bro. It's so good. I'm so inspired by you guys.
Thank you,
man. So just whatever it is you're doing and whatever your gut tells you to do, just keep doing it, because there's guys, not only young guys and new guys watching you, and new girls, and it's old cats. It's cats that already have been in this thing for a minute who are watching you too, and you know, like, I sit around this house and I'm writing a script and I'm taking my own clips and making them. But this is a TV show, bro. Yeah. And this just blows me away. And I really thank y'all for giving me a chance to be in front of your audience and letting your people see me like this. I really do.
Absolutely, Ralph, because you know how I started the show. Like, there's so many great comics out there, and you know, we're not haters. I celebrate great comedy.
Right.
Love seeing comedians kill. I mean, I love it, and I think that's part of the reason why I've helped write, you know, with some comics and everything. Yeah. See comics shine.
Yeah.
You know, one thing about you, and that I love about this business, and again, conversations me and Johnny have, is when people you look up to and are fans of actually become your friend. And I remember coming and seeing you at the Comedy and Magic Club. You're headlining at the Comedy and Magic Club.
Right.
And
you drove down there to see my show?
I drove down there to see the show, man. And the reason why, Ralph, is because I'm a student of the game.
Right.
And I said, I've always admired you. So I know you're gonna think this is crazy because we're boys now, but I remember being nervous to talk to you. You know?
What?
Oh yeah, man. You know that feeling when you kind of look up to somebody and
I was like that with Damon Wayans.
Yeah. Dude, Chris Spencer, this is the funniest story. Chris Spencer was opening up for Damon Wayans. He was like, yo, come out to Irvine and hang. And you would have thought I was a mute, bro. Because I'm such a Damon Wayans fan that I couldn't say anything. Chris was like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, that's Damon Wayans, man. And he's, to me, one of the most underrated as a stand-up.
Dude, Damon Wayans was at the Catch a Rising Star in Jersey one time, and I went just to let him know, hey man, if you need a ride anywhere, because it was in such a weird part of Princeton, New Jersey. I said, if you need a ride, anything, just I'll come. I had to drive an hour and a half away from Philly to Princeton to take him all the way to New York, just because he wanted to go to New York. But I didn't care. It's like, dude, just whatever you want to drop. If you want to drop some crumbs, I'm gonna pick them all up. Just drop. And Damon, we've been cool ever since. You know, even when I first met Keenan, I'm standing with Keenan, and he comes over. He goes, "Hey, man, what you doing here?" And it was at the set of Living Color, and I said, "I'm supposed to be talking to the lady about doing warm up." But the fact that he was asking me, "What am I doing here?" I'm like, "How do you know me?
Yeah.
How do you even know me?" And turns out that Keenan and Arsenio and Robert Townsend and all of them used to watch me on Showtime at the Apollo.
Dude.
And so they saw me as something that I had no idea.
Isn't
and
that
so so I know what you mean when you say you get there and you don't know what you should say.
Right.
But the truth is, I was there. I was that person. So I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm more like the guy, if I see somebody with that energy, I hug them, I embrace them. I'm like, what do you need? Tell me what you need. Because Arsenio Hall one time was opening for Jeffrey Osborne. And after the show, Arsenio was walking around the casino, and I just would not let this dude go. And I had already talked to him backstage, but I would not let him go. And Arsenio walked around the casino with me for 2.5 hours until the wee hours of the morning, talking to me about comedy in LA and Solid Gold, because he used to do Solid Gold. And here's the funny thing is, I heard everything he said for about 2 hours and 25 minutes. The last 5 minutes, though, he started playing with the roll of silver dollars that they give you. And that was my only money to get home. And I could not stop watching him play with that, because I was thinking, I'm going to need to cash that in.
Yeah.
Get back home. And I don't want him to forget and think that's his.
Yeah. Arsenio's another guy, man. And obviously, you know, watching him on TV. And then he's done Ruby Tuesdays a few times. But just to be sitting with somebody like you really admire, like yourself, like Arsenio, especially Arsenio, man, to be talking to him and then him asking me, what do I think about this joke? All right, how do you feel about this? You think, is there something? And in my mind, I'm going, this is Arsenio Hall asking me my opinion. And that gives you a lot of confidence, you know, as a performer, when your peers show you that type of respect, and being able to make you laugh, or to be able to make Johnny laugh. And not like I would tailor my act to make my friends laugh or my peers laugh, but the fact that, you know, your peers can come up to you and go, man, great set, great bit. I mean, those are the things, man, that keep you inspired. You were talking about inspiration earlier. And let me ask you this, because Johnny and I, with a lot of guests on the show, talk about defining moments in people's careers. And you obviously, I think you've covered them, because you've had some profound defining moments that changed the course of your life. For me, because I never got a chance to get one, and it's not what it used to be. No knock to people who are achieving this goal now, but when you got an HBO special, man, it really meant something. I think nowadays, and this again, no shade, no knock to anybody. People become known and then they get a special. Before, you had to be a great comic and then you become known. Special. You got it from being just a straight stand-up. That moment experience like when you got an HBO special, bro?
Well, you know, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned it. It's timely that you mentioned it, because HBO just aired my special yesterday.
Whoa!
I did it in '96, bro.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it was on until my niece Tamika sent it to me. She said, I'm watching my uncle right now. And so listen, HBO specials were things that Damon Wayans and Robin Harris and George Wallace did. Like I was like, you hope to get one. And so my man at the time, Cindy Ambers, I'm sitting at outside the Laugh Factory. I had just did a really amazing set. It was a weekend. No, it was a weeknight. And Cindy was there. She came outside to smoke a cigarette, and she said, do you have managers? And I said, no, I don't. I said, I don't have managers at all. I said, I really need a manager. And she said, you had a TV show, right? And I said, yeah, I had a series, but it ended. And she said she would help me meet Buddy Mora at Mora Bresner Steinberg. And they used to manage Robin Williams and Billy Crystal and Whoopi and so many. And so they came out to see me, and then they took me to Aspen to the comedy festival for HBO. And I was up there just thinking, wow, I've never been here. I always wanted to know what it'd be like to be in Aspen. And I'm not thinking about stand-up because I could do that sleep, you know. And I get on stage, I do the set, and then the next day, Buddy Mora told me we're gonna have lunch tomorrow. Come and go have lunch with us. And so I go to lunch, and Chris Albrecht's there, but I don't know who he is. You know, I knew the name, but and over just while we're waiting, they ordered their food, and Chris shakes my hand. He goes, "Yeah, you're gonna do a HBO special." He said, "I hope you have a good time." And they kept ordering, they kept going, and I was just like. So the food comes out, and my little burger came out. I couldn't even eat because I'm like, they just told me I was getting ready to do an HBO special like it wasn't nothing.
Yeah. You know what's crazy, dude? Because I was with Cindy at that time. I can't remember. I'm trying to think the year I did Aspen, but I do vaguely remember you coming on board and you getting that special, and I just was so happy.
Yeah, well, at the time, Cindy and I were working closely. She was guiding me at the time.
Gotcha.
Like we didn't become a management thing until like 97 or 98, somewhere around there. But she used to, like, I would talk to Cindy every day because I didn't even know how to be with Maura Brezhnev and Steinberg because they were so big. And I was like, well, what do I do now? And what do I do now? And she would tell me. And so, I get the special, and then they fly me up to San Francisco, and me and Adele Givens are doing our special on the same night. And Adele was the draw. You know, we both went and did radio. It was on with Sway and Tech, and no, Sway was by itself. I was on with everybody, you know, and I go and do the set that night, and Adele's audience is dominating the room. Like the people who knew me, I could see them, but they were quiet. Adele's people were like what I was used to with Showtime at the Apollo. Like when they laugh, they get up and laugh, and you know, like Arsenio's audience used to. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. And I said, wait till they see this. And so I get on stage, and I got my little suit together. I knew my look was right. My brother was there, and my brother Ramont, you know, he did stand up too. So having family there and having my close friends, Joya, Leah, Martin Lawrence's company, it was so many people there that made me feel like I could levitate the room, you know? And so it was surreal to the point where I think about 2 or 3 weeks later, I didn't want to perform. I didn't want to perform nowhere. I didn't perform nowhere because I needed to just have a moment to let that sink in what just happened. Man. And then, you know, there you go.
So yeah, that's, by the way, did they do the system like they do sometimes now where you guys perform for this in front of the same audience for the tapings?
Yeah. Okay. And you know, and was Carolyn Strauss, I think her name was. Yes. Carolyn Strauss was the person who also saw me up in Aspen. And I think Cindy had a connection with Carolyn to tell her to take a good look at me. And it all just came together. And she and the system made sure that I was extremely comfortable when it was time for me to go on stage to do it. And quite honestly, I had so many examples of, like I say, performance and show business. You know, I just saw my boy Bobby Collins is on, and Bobby Collins and all of these people they taught me what to do in that moment, bro. So when the moment came, it didn't matter if I had 2 people or 2 million. I knew exactly what to do. So
at that point, and then I'll swing it to Johnny. At that point, how long had you been doing stand-up at that point when you got your
I got the HBO special, it was the 11 years.
Wow.
11 years. And the one thing that I was always told is it's going to take 10 years before you learn who you are in comedy. Yeah. And they used to also say that it was going to be 10 years before something big happens. But that's not true because my big breaks happened pretty much year number 1. you know, but the like I did Arsenio Hall show in 1992, and I'd only been doing stand-up for 6 or 7 years, but Arsenio saw me he was sitting in the back of the Comedy Store one night with Mitzi, and I think it was probably 10 people in the audience. And Arsenio was like, yo, call me next week. And I called and I went and sat in the audience actually, and I ended up doing the show, you know. So it's so many unbelievable moments. Go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
First of all, those days of people in the industry being at the comedy clubs.
Yeah.
Things just happened and changed for people.
Yeah.
And that could have been a weeknight. You know what I mean? That was probably a weeknight.
That was a weeknight. It was a Tuesday.
See? There you go. So I wanted to just touch on two things. When you mentioned unfortunately the evening when I went long, and you said something. You said something. An interesting point. You were like, took me about 60 seconds. Took me, and a reason why I'm bringing this up. I'm coming back to you, but Ruben and I have always talked about this. I never really mastered that boom when I got on stage.
Yeah.
I've always been a little bit of a slow starter, but a little bit like a locomotive. Once I get going, then I go. And I remember telling Ruben, whenever I watched you all these years, it's like it's just this pop and explosion when you I have always seen it. And I don't know if that's the performer in you, but I told Ruben before, I go, man, it's like he gets up there and it's the moment you speak that the audience is literally with you or laughing even when you just start to, right, Ruben? Like, wow.
Well, the thing is, when I work in town, I force myself to go slower in the beginning. On the road, I kill people in 30 seconds.
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you who is responsible for that, and it is George Lopez. George used to walk into the Laugh Factory in the 80s, in the 90s, and George would come in his little blazer, you know, and just kind of get his little cocktail, and he would survey the room. And then he would walk to the stage after the introduction, and I swear to you, 15 seconds didn't go by before the laughter was at a decibel that you go, okay, oh my God. And George used to do this thing where he would speak in Spanish.
Yes.
Like he was getting ready to do that for the next hour.
Yeah.
And the people, I would be watching the faces of the people and I go, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I need to get people like that. And so what he did is he didn't do the conventional setup, you know, he just this is what you're gonna get with the George Lopez show.
Yeah.
And so once I learned that
from
all of the cats that did it, and then George Wallace, and then John Witherspoon, John would go up and do a Johnny Mathis song after being introduced on a comedy stage, and he would do a Johnny Mathis song like he was gonna sing the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
But then he would stop. He'd go, let me stop that. And then he would go into his thing, and I'd be like, man, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
So, you know, I learned because I used to have to follow heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And the heavy hitters, one of the things you learn from them is don't think that you're gonna get up there and change it into the first gear and just kind of ease your way into it. You got to come out swinging. And even if you work slower, you still need to come out with the respect to the fact that you better be ready. This better be a rocket. It better be a rocket. I mean, if you want to work on something fresh and totally new, you need to probably go on at late night, like when Damon used to do it.
Yeah.
Damon would go last. Expectations were low. But the moment you set foot in a showcase club, you a star.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's that moment where you go, I need to set the tone for them to know exactly who's
what to
up
expect.
What to expect. Right.
Yeah. And what's interesting is because the last time, well, Ruben's talking about, you know, going to see you at the Comedy Magic. You came into this is the last time I saw you You came into the Laugh Factory. I was in the lobby hanging out. There was a bunch of us talking. You came in. You said hi to everybody. You went inside, and then somebody was like, "Oh, Ralph's stuff." And I looked in the window. That window, that you can see.
Right.
Like, oh man, there was other comics that had been up, and I was like, "Oh, hold on, I'll be back," because I wanted to go see you. Right.
You absolutely did come in the room. Yeah.
I went upstairs and I watched it from upstairs. Right, and then he watched the set. Fantastic. He's killing it. It was a 10 o'clock show, so it was hot.
Yep.
And I came back down the stairs because I knew he was wrapping up. He was already getting finished. So I came back to my exact spot where I was when he walked up. So he comes in, he comes out, and I go, "Hey man, great set, Ralph. Great." And Ralph goes, "Hey, man, you're standing right here." And I said, "I went up and saw you and came back. You don't even know that." And he goes, "Oh, okay."
I was like, because I'm sitting there, because that's a high compliment when a comedian who is trying to get his own wheels together, come, and especially if you already worked. I don't really hang around anymore unless I'm really, trying to support somebody or doing some work, And so, Johnny, I know when you set fire, you don't need to stay around to see if the fire is hot. You can leave, But what
was funny to me was Ralph. I think initially Ralph thought I was pulling one of those, that comic thing that comics do. Great stuff, man, and they didn't even watch you, right?
Right.
So I had gotten back down before he came, and he's like, "Wait a minute."
And that stayed with me. It stayed with me that you did that.
So I went up.
That's why I love you, man, because I know you have always been solidly as you are right now. I know you've always been that guy, and I appreciate it. From day one, you've always been that way.
I think what we all have in common is the respect of the crowd.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that we're asking you questions about your journey, and you pay homage to other comics, the ones that were before you, the ones that influenced you, the ones that made you better. And I try to be the same way. You know what I mean? I always share lessons that I've learned with every comedian. Like having you on the show was an opportunity to tell you how much you meant to me. And I'm grateful to be able to work with the George and let them know. Even Johnny, to tell Johnny, "Hey man, I appreciate your friendship." People go, "Oh, me and Johnny we're really close," but it still feels just as good to get a compliment from my friend, because he doesn't have to say anything. You know what I mean? Like, we really don't. We're at a point now we already know we like and respect each other. But when it comes to like, "Rube, great set, dude," or I go, "Great set," and Johnny always has the same answer. "Really?" Yeah. I don't know, man. I wasn't really. I don't know, man.
Well, because what we expect of ourselves is always going to be so much more than what the person who's complimenting says.
I can't even tell Johnny I wasn't happy with a set. Then he gets mad if I go. Johnny, you go, "Man, I was leaving, man, and you were killing." I go, "I wasn't really feeling them." What? Oh, come on. Never mind.
That's the truth. And I don't want to leave out this, because you have the exposure, and a lot of comedians are probably going to, are tuned in as well. Young ones. Is people say, this comedy thing, how do you get good at it? And I would always say to them, just like people told me, you have to study it. You have to really, my stage time is a given. Anybody could get a microphone anywhere, to be honest with you. Because I went to a dinner theater when I wanted more stage time, and I asked them if I get MC. Stage time is easy to get. But if you don't know what was before you, you don't know the business. There are comedians now that only know comedy as far back as Richard Pryor, because they think that's all that mattered. Absolutely. I studied as far back as Pigmeat Markham and Mantan Moreland and George Kirby, the people who hung out with Red Fox. I watched Phyllis Diller. I bought Bob Newhart records.
I got a name for you, Franklin Majai.
Franklin was one of my mentors. Barry Barry.
Yes.
Rashawn McDonald, J. Anthony Brown. I had so many people that I watched so far back, bro, that like I was studying comedy when you go to the library and look it up, and they let you watch the video. And I watched the Stephen Fetchit. I watched Stephen Fetchit movies, because I wanted, because that was under the comedy category.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out why that works for somebody.
Yes.
And I had to figure out why Phyllis Diller works for somebody, and why Joan Rivers works, and why Bob Newhart works. And I had to put it all in perspective and learn what my voice was going to be based on what I saw. And you know, I would tell young comedians, search as far back as you can to figure out what came before you, and you'll find your voice.
Well, Ralph,
it's great, man.
Thank you so much. I mean,
I appreciate it.
We're well over an hour, man. And
this is I was hungry like an hour and 10 minutes ago, and I was like, this is so fun.
Yeah.
That I would be the next 10 minutes complimenting you and thanking you on just even asking me, Ruben, because you know, I really for my spirit and being in the house this long, I needed this, bro. So I truly appreciate you both having me on, man. And I wish you great things always, and I'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely, man. And we'll talk off air, but you know, we're gonna work on some things together.
Indeed.
Also, man.
Indeed.
And to everybody out there listening, if you are not familiar with Ralph, please get familiar.
Yeah.
Many more to come.
Yep.
Christopher Reed, Kid, just gave a shout out.
Chris, my dog.
And let me tell you something about Kid, man. Who, you know, we all know his accomplishments as an artist, you know, as a rapper.
Yeah.
You know, but he loves comedy also, and does comedy.
Oh yeah.
I'll be at Ruby Tuesdays, man, and I'll just be, you know, walking around making my rounds, and I come up there and like, Kid, what are you doing here? It's like, man, you know, I got to be in the building, man.
Kid is that's my man. Kid was in the audience. No, he was backstage the night that Boys to Men met Michael Bivins. He was backstage talking to them. I was there. I remember Kid being there. That's so fun. It's so many stories, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's wow. So it's a lot of people watching. I love this game, this thing we do, and how we reach people. And thank y'all, man. I know you're trying to figure out a way to get out of this, but if you don't, you hear another hour.
Let me just say, much respect. I love you, Ralph. I appreciate you, man. Really funny, quick story. Steve Wilson, who is a mutual friend of ours.
My brother. My roomie.
Dude, I remember me and Steve started becoming friends, and I was like, man, where you living? He was like, man, I live in the Valley. I'm like, who you live with? He was like, oh, I live with Ralph. I go, Ralph who? He goes, Ralph Harris. I go, Ralph Harris? You live with Ralph Harris? How the hell you know Ralph Harris? And he's like, man, Rube, I've been in this game a long time. So it's just, we always had all these connections. But again, when I was coming from a fan, you know, peer perspective.
Yeah.
You live with Ralph Harris? What's he like? So,
hey man, that's my brother too. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, y'all keep on killing them, bro. Keep on killing.
Thank you for doing the show. And Ralph, where can people? I know it's on the screen here, but where? I'm
on Instagram and Facebook at Ralph Harris Comedy. But you know, I fortunately with all that I've done, if people just Google Ralph Harris, Google will tell them where to go. Yeah. You know, and they can go to my website, ralphharris.com. They can find me, bro.
Well, Ralph, I can't wait till we connect in person, but we will connect in the virtual world for sure.
Indeed.
Thank you again to everybody listening.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Are we going to stay on? I wanted to show the photo of Stan. Our fan.
I mean, we have great people that we have loyal fans to the show, Ralph.
This is a guy. Ralph, he's watched every episode for a little over
What's
a
his
year.
name? Sam?
His name is Stan Felton.
And he got married on Saturday, and I told him, I said, hey, man, do a photo with the mask kissing your wife. So he did, and he said, there it is. There
that's hilarious. Hilarious.
Oh
my God.
Congratulations,
brother. Congratulations. That's funny. That is funny.
That is great.
That's what they call COVID love, brother.
COVID love right
there. Hey, man, thanks a lot, man.
You're very welcome. And you guys listening, tell a friend about the podcast. We're on iTunes, Google Play,
Spotify, YouTube.
Absolutely. Indeed. And so with that being said, Ralph,
Sarah.
thank you once again. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. And that is the Best of Everything
right.
podcast.
And let's say thank you to all the comedy clubs that are holding open and gonna be there when we get back.
Absolutely.
You know, hang in there. We'll be back. We will be back.
Well, we will be back. And remember, when we are back, please support live comedy.
Yes, indeed.
All right. That's the Best of Everything with Ruben Paul and Johnny Sanchez and our special guest, Mr. Ralph Harris. And we out.
Ruby motherfucking Tuesdays.
This show is all about diversity and bringing everyone together. You never know who you're going to see at Ruby Tuesdays.